Hello, my first graders. So for those of you who were here on Monday of this week, you already heard this. But since many of you were not here, I figured you would want to hear the ending to the Orange Outlaw. I know that if you didn't hear the end of it, you'd be mad at me. So today I'm going to pick up where we left off on Friday when everyone was here, and we'll see if we can finish the Orange Outlaw today. So where we left off, remember they found two hairs that looked very different from each other. And Owen thought maybe one hair was a wig. He thought they looked so different, one maybe isn't even real hair. And then they went into the alleyway to try to find a piece of Miss Booker's hair. Remember, Miss Booker was the building manager, and we are pretty suspicious of her. So they're gonna look for one of her hairs so they could compare it. And in the alleyway, instead of a hair, they found a picture of the stolen painting. Oh. So we are on chapter 8. In the photograph, the painting stood on a table. Part of a window was also visible with buildings in the distance. Josh asked, "What's this doing in the alley?" "I think I know," Ruth Rose said. "The thief must have used the picture to identify the painting. After he stole it, he threw the picture away." "If the thief tossed the picture here, that means he probably did climb down the balconies," Dink said. "You mean she," Josh said. Ruth Rose shook her head. "But if Miss Booker did it," she asked, "why would she tell us she can climb buildings? Wouldn't that just point the finger at her?" "Maybe she's giving us false clues," Josh said. "She tells us she can climb the building and drops this picture in the alley, but all the time she probably just went through the front door with her key." "No matter who stole the painting," Dink said, "the crook's fingerprint should be on this picture." He carefully slipped the snapshot inside his shirt. "We have to show it to my uncle." The kids ran down the alley to the front of the building. Weekend traffic whizzed by. A few people hurried toward the Subway shop. A man in a gray work clothes was sweeping up litter. A mound of litter stood at the entrance to the alley. As the kids walked past, Josh accidentally kicked the pile. "Hey, watch your step there, young fella," the man with the broom said. "Sorry," Josh said, stepping away from the litter. Using his foot, he scraped the stuff back together. Then he knelt down and picked something out of the debris. "Hey guys, look!" Josh held up an orange peel. The man with the broom chuckled. "There was a block party here last night," he said. "A man had a trailer with an orangutan and a pony parked right here. Man, that orangutan sure ate a lot of oranges." So remember where we've seen oranges before, all over his uncle's kitchen when the painting was stolen. Find a picture. And there was orange juice everywhere. And we've also already seen an orangutan when they went to the block party. And they saw the orangutan riding on the back of a pony. Dink took the peel from Josh and looked at it carefully. Caught in the peel was a long orange hair. Another orange hair. Ruth Rose peered over Dink's shoulder. "It's just like the hair Josh found in the kitchen," she said. Josh looked up the alley. "Guys," he said, "Miss Booker didn't climb up those balconies. That orangutan did." Ruth Rose's eyes grew wide. "Orangutans are great climbers," she said. "And they have long orange hair and eat fruit," said Josh. Dink stared at Josh and Ruth Rose. "You mean you think the orangutan is the thief?" "Why not?" Josh said. "People train orangutans to do all kinds of stuff. Why couldn't one be taught to steal a painting?" Dink tapped the snapshot inside his shirt. "If you're right, his fingerprints should be on this," he said. "Do orangutans even have fingerprints?" Ruth Rose asked. Dink shrugged. "Whoever gave him the picture would have left his fingerprints too." "His trainer," Josh said. Ruth Rose nodded. "Yep, the orangutan might have taken the painting, but the real thief is the person who taught him how." There's a picture of the pile of litter and the kids walking, and they found orange peels. So maybe it was an orangutan that stole the painting. Also, think about when they talked to the neighbor, Mrs. Cornelius. She said that she saw someone on her balcony that had orange hair and a wrinkled face and very poor posture, which remember is sort of sitting or standing slumped over. So all those things describe an orangutan too. Chapter 9. Uncle Warren was in the kitchen looking glum when Dink, Josh, and Ruth Rose rushed in. "Forrest Evans just called," Uncle Warren said. "He's coming back tomorrow. What will I tell him?" Dink grinned. "Tell him we know who stole his painting." Uncle Warren nearly dropped his coffee cup. "Do you really know? Who?" "The orangutan did it," Josh said. Interrupting each other, the three kids told Dink's uncle what they thought had happened. "But how would an ape recognize a valuable Monet?" Uncle Warren asked. Dink unbuttoned his shirt and carefully placed the snapshot on the table. We think his trainer taught him to recognize the painting, Dink said. His uncle studied the photograph. It's Forrest's painting, all right, he said. And look, that's the Eiffel Tower in the background. This picture was taken in Paris. Uncle Warren shook his head. I find this very hard to believe, he said. An orangutan climbed up to my balcony, ate my oranges, then stole my friend's painting? Incredible. Orangutans are very smart, Josh said. I saw a nature program about them once. One orangutan learned to count. They taught another one to turn on a VCR and pop in a video. Uncle Warren nodded. I'll give this photo to Detective Costello, he said. But how do we find the orangutan's owner? Ruth Rose asked. We don't even know his name. Wait a minute. Dink jumped up and ran into the living room. He came back carrying the jeans he'd been wearing the night before. I took one of their flyers, he said, digging into the pocket. Here it is. He opened the flyer and spread it on the kitchen table. In large block letters were the words, Fowler's Farm, animal acts of all kinds, for parties and school events. Below the words were a picture of a man and a woman they'd seen the night before. Their names were printed beneath the picture, Harvey and Ginny Fowler. Beside that picture was another one. In it, the orangutan was riding the pony. The caption said, Ollie the orangutan and Polly the pony. At the very bottom of the page was a telephone number and address. They live in New York, Dink's uncle said, in Larchmont. That's not far from here. Excellent work, Donnie. Now, all we have to do is get that detective to arrest them, Josh said. I'm afraid not, Uncle Warren said. We have no proof that these people trained their animal to steal Forrest's painting. We have a lot of theories, a photo, and hairs that might have come from the orangutan. Still, I doubt that's enough for Detective Costello to make an arrest. If only we could get Mr. or Mrs. Fowler's fingerprints, Dink said. Then we could see if they match any of the prints on the snapshot. That would be a great start, Uncle Warren said, but still, no proof that their animal stole the painting. What if we got a hair from Ollie? Ruth Rose said. If the hair matched the one we found in the kitchen, wouldn't that prove he was in the apartment? Dink's uncle smiled. I think that would be enough to convince Detective Costello, he said. But how do we obtain this hair? Ruth Rose grinned. I thought you'd never ask, she said. Ruth Rose always seems to have an idea, doesn't she? Chapter 10. Half an hour later, Uncle Warren handed Ruth Rose the telephone. Good luck, he said. Don't worry, Josh said. She's really good at tricking crooks. Ruth Rose smiled into the phone. Hello, is this Mr. Harvey Fowler? My name is Ruth Rose. My birthday is tomorrow, and my parents want to hire Ollie and Polly. My father is Forrest Evans, and he's very rich. 2 minutes later, she hung up. They're coming, she said. Do you think Mr. Evans will mind if we use his property? Dink asked. His uncle beamed. He'd love it. I can't wait to tell him when he returns from Europe. How will we get there? Josh asked. I've never even heard of Larchmont, New York. It's not far, Josh. I'll rent us a car, Uncle Warren said. Now I have to make a few phone calls. This is going to be such fun. Early the next morning, Roger called to let them know that the rental car was downstairs. Ruth Rose was in disguise. She was wearing Uncle Warren's beret and a pair of glasses. You look great, Dink said. Mr. Fowler will never remember you from the block party. Uncle Warren and the kids went downstairs and climbed into the rental car. Dink's uncle drove them out of the city. They saw plenty of traffic and crossed a couple of bridges. Finally, Dink saw a sign that said, Welcome to Larchmont. Almost there, Uncle Warren said. Forrest has a beautiful home and a lot of land. A few minutes later, he turned into a long driveway lined with trees. At the end of the driveway stood a large brick house. Behind it, Dink could see a pool and tennis courts. Awesome, Josh said. Yes, it's lovely out here, Uncle Warren said, but I'd rather have people around me than trees. He parked the car and everyone got out. Two men and a woman walked out of the garage. Dink recognized Detective Costello, but not the other two. This is Detective Rita Frost, my partner, Detective Costello said. And I'm Dr. Ted Parker, the other man said. Dr. Parker is the curator for the primates at the Bronx Zoo, Detective Costello explained. After the arrest, he'll take charge of the animals. Detective Frost wore a blue dress and heels. She smiled at Ruth Rose. Are you ready to act like a rich kid? She asked. I'm a little nervous, Ruth Rose said. What if the Fowlers recognize me? I wouldn't worry about that, the woman said. If what you've told us is true, he won't even look at you. He'll be thinking about how to break into this beautiful house. There they are. Okay, this is the plan, Detective Costello said. Our backup car will let us know when the Fowlers drive in, and Rita and I will pretend to be Mr. and Mrs. Evans. Ruth Rose here is our daughter, the one who's having a birthday. Everyone else will stay in the garage until I give the word to come out. Any questions? Just then, the cell phone on Detective Costello's belt rang. He answered it, listened, then hung up. The Fowlers' trailer just entered the property, he said. Inside, please, and no talking. Dink, Josh, Uncle Warren, and Dr. Parker stepped into the garage. Good luck, Dink whispered to Ruth Rose. Ruth Rose gave them a thumbs up as the garage door came down in front of her. Two shiny black cars were parked inside the garage. Dink sat in the bumper of one of the cars. He could hear the trailer approaching. Then he heard car doors slamming and some muffled voices. Josh had his ear to the garage door. He started to giggle when he heard Ruth Rose beg her daddy for a pony. She gets to have all the fun, he whispered. Dink gave Josh a nudge back. No talking, Dink whispered. Josh lost his balance and backed into a wall, striking a button. Making a whirring sound, the garage door began to open. Oh no, Josh fell and now their hiding place is going to be exposed. Chapter 11. Dink felt himself blushing as everyone outside the garage turned to look at everyone inside. The trailer stood only a few yards away. Through a thick mesh screen, Dink saw Ollie and Polly. Say, what's going on here? Harvey Fowler asked. Hey, wait a minute, his wife said. They were at the block party. What's all this about, Mr. Evans? I'm not Mr. Evans, Detective Costello said. He pulled his wallet out and flipped open his badge. I'm Detective Frank Costello, New York City Police Department. Detective Costello nodded at Dr. Parker, who walked over to the trailer. Dink watched him take out a pair of scissors and then snip a few hairs from Ollie's arm. Then Dr. Parker went back into the garage. Detective Frost took a plastic bag from inside her jacket. Through it, Dink recognized the Polaroid picture of the painting. I'm sure we'll find your fingerprints all over this photograph, she told Harvey Fowler. Recognize it? Harvey Fowler glanced down at the picture. Dink saw his Adam's apple go up and down. So, big deal. What's wrong with having a picture? I've got lots of pictures. Trouble is, you have one picture too many, Detective Costello said. You taught your ape to steal the painting in the photograph. Harvey Fowler smirked, showing a gold tooth. I got one word for you. Proof. You got any? So there's a detective, and that one must be... There's a detective we saw earlier, and then that one must be Harvey Fowler. That shady character. Dr. Parker walked back to the group. I think so, he said. The hairs match. The ones I just snipped from Ollie are the same ones found in Mr. Duncan's kitchen, and they're both like the hair the kids found in the front of the apartment building. Thank you, Dr. Parker, Detective Frost said. She looked at Harvey and Ginny Fowler. You're both under arrest for grand theft. We didn't steal anything, and you can't prove we did, Harvey Fowler yelled. I can't help it if Ollie took some painting. Give it up, sighed Ginny to her husband. It's over. She turned to Detective Frost. Everything you said is true. Harvey's cousin works for an insurance company in Paris. Last week, he insured a Monet painting. When he saw it was being shipped to New York, he took a snapshot and sent it to us. He also sent the address where the painting was going. Ginny, be quiet, Harvey shouted. We'll get out of this. I got another cousin who's a lawyer. Mrs. Fowler ignored her husband. Anyway, when Harvey saw the balconies on the back of Mr. Duncan's building, he trained Ollie to climb up there, she said. The painting is hidden in the trailer. Detectives Costello and Frost handcuffed the Fowlers. Then everyone walked over to the trailer. It was divided in half. Ollie sat on one side, gazing out through the wire. On the other side, Polly stood munching hay. She didn't seem interested in what was going on in the human world. Where is it exactly? Detective Frost asked Ginny Fowler. There's a false bottom in Ollie's cage, Mrs. Fowler said. You'll find a handle under the straw. Detective Costello looked at Josh. You want to climb in there, kid? Josh gulped. Sure. He won't hurt me, will he? Ginny Fowler smiled at Josh. Go ahead. Ollie likes kids. Detective Frost opened the trailer's rear door and Josh crawled in. Ollie shuffled over and smelled Josh's hair. Josh moved some of the straw and found a small round handle. He tugged and a part of the floor lifted up. It's in here, Josh said. So there's Ollie. Seems to like Josh. And the painting is under that little trap door. So they found the painting. Just then, a taxi pulled up next to the trailer. A short man with a brown beard stepped out. Warren, who are all these people? What's going on? Uncle Warren shook Forrest Evans' hand. Welcome home, Forrest. Make us a pot of tea, and we'll tell you the whole story. He missed the whole thing. He didn't even know his painting was missing. And now it's back. That worked out well. What will happen to Ollie? Ruth Rose asked. They were in the rental car. Dink's uncle was driving them back to the city. He won't go to jail, will he? Uncle Warren shook his head. Not at all. Dr. Parker will see that Ollie goes back to Borneo, he said. There are special camps there where orangutans are taught to live in the wild again. Ollie will live a safe, happy life from now on. What about Polly? Dink asked. She could be a problem, Uncle Warren said. Dr. Parker hasn't been able to find anyone who wants a 10-year-old pony. I know someone who wants a 10-year-old pony, Ruth Rose said. Me. You? Josh said. Where will you keep her? I don't know, Ruth Rose said. She nudged Josh with her elbow. If only I knew someone with a barn. Josh laughed. Oh, I get it. Okay, I'll ask my folks if Polly can live in our barn, but the twins will want to ride her. So will my little brother, Ruth Rose said. We can all own Polly and we can all ride her. Josh leaned forward and patted Dink's head. And Dink can clean out her stall. Oh no, Dink's gonna have to clean out the stall. They get a lot of animals from these books. So now they're gonna have a pony, and they got Pal, Josh got Pal the dog in The Invisible Island. Remember that? That was a good one. So you're not here to vote this time. The kids who were here on Monday, though, voted that they liked the Orange Outlaw better than the Ninth Nugget. So far, I think the Orange Outlaw is our favorite. And next up is P, which is the panda puzzle. So we'll read the back of the panda puzzle now, too. P is for panda. There's pandemonium in Greenlawn. The town is building a new park for a panda and her baby. But as soon as the pandas arrive, the baby is stolen. All the panda nappers want in return is $1 million. Can Dink, Josh, and Ruth Rose collar the culprits before Greenlawn has to cough up the cash? Kidnapping again, this time a baby panda. That's so sad. Well, I hope you enjoyed the end of the Orange Outlaw, and maybe we can start the panda puzzle in another video coming up soon. Have a terrific day. I'll see you later. Bye.